Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. With me in the studio, I have Professor Bola Akintenwa, Director General, Bodytech Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies. Modele Sharafa Yusuf, veteran broadcaster, marketing communications consultant, and Arise News analyst. Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director in Office in Off, and Professor David Awurawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos. Now, let's get into the subjects of today. Nigeria and 5 other African countries have been chosen to begin production of COVID-19 vaccine, with the continent having had limited access to jabs. Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, announced on Friday that the first 6 countries that will receive technology from the hub to produce their own mRNA vaccines are Egypt, Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, and Tunisia. According to the WHO, these countries were selected in a push to ensure the African continent can make its own jabs to fight COVID and other diseases. According to the WHO chief, I quote, "We expect clinical trials to start in the 4th quarter of this year, with approval expected in 2024. We expect the benefits of this initiative will extend far beyond COVID-19 by creating a platform for vaccines against other diseases, including malaria and tuberculosis." He said that the WHO will work with the companies and the government in each country to develop a roadmap for training and production based on their needs and capacities. Now, we're going to consider all possible angles to this development by speaking with Patrick Ajah, a certified pharmacist and Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of pharmaceutical giants May and Baker, Nigeria. Welcome to the show, Mr. Patrick Ajah. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Well, my first question would be, look, at this 6th AU-EU summit, focusing on peace, security, and governance, the issue of the COVID-19 vaccine came up as a way of addressing the inequities in the production and the distribution of vaccines in the world. So this decision to add Nigeria to the countries that will be part of that WHO-designated manufacturing hub, how significant is it? According to President Muhammadu Buhari, Nigeria will also be the host country for the training hub for this initiative. Do we have what it takes?
Thank you very much. I think this is very significant. The truth is, you cannot Africa cannot be successful without Nigeria. With over 200 million people in Nigeria, God has been gracious to us. I mean, all of us knew that they predicted that people are going to be falling down on the streets and dying, but that has not been the case. But be that as it may, Nigeria still needs to be able to take care of her own needs when it comes to vaccine production. We've seen it during COVID. Other countries are going to take care of themselves first before they think about you. So I think this is a very good initiative from WHO, because we've seen, especially if you're waiting for donations, they only donate to you what they don't need. If you want to buy, many African countries will not be able to afford the money required to vaccinate enough people. So I think being able to make countries in Africa produce their own vaccines will be the way to go if we want Africa to be protected. It might not just be for COVID, it might be for other things. Frankly, Nigeria spends a lot of money on routine immunization, and we still depend on other countries for these immunizations. So I think the earlier we begin to build capacity in being able to manufacture our own vaccines, the better for us.
Okay, but the problem here is, what Oxfam has said in response to what happened at this 6th EU-EU summit. Oxfam says that, look, European leaders have this tendency to make a song and a dance out of their commitment to low and middle income countries, but that in reality they offer little. The EU, at this particular summit, with regard to vaccines production and manufacturing, talked about donating up to about 450 million euros worth of vaccines to Africa by mid-2022, another 150 million euros over a period of 5 years to provide support, and some other measures. But Oxfam is saying, look, we shouldn't dance to the song that they are singing, because oftentimes they don't meet these commitments. Do you think that this is just for the cameras, or we should expect the European Union to be more committed, considering the fact that even the WHO itself, most recently, has had cause to call on the developed countries of the world, not just to play the rhetoric, but to walk the talk?
So you see, there's always a problem with handouts, and that's the truth. I think what is happening is, and I believe our presidents, the presidents of these countries and all African countries, need to wake up by not depending on handouts. There's nothing better than capacity building to produce what you need. I mean, is Nigeria different from India? Is Nigeria different from China? So I really think that the best thing that could be done to us is helping us get access to technology to be able to produce our own vaccines, and not just depending on donations and handouts. The real donation I think African countries need now is what the WHO has talked about, capacity building. And it's happening in Africa. I know that South Africa is ahead of most countries, but we have to start from somewhere. And that starting from somewhere will begin from encouraging your own companies. Can I say this? My company, Baker, since 2005, went into a joint venture with the federal government to form a company called BioVaccines. BioVaccines is supposed to be producing vaccines in Nigeria. A lot of things has happened, but the good thing is, in 2017, that initiative was reactivated, and BioVaccine is functional right now. So the truth is, we need to encourage companies like BioVaccines, other companies in Africa that has the capacity to possibly pre-qualify to be able to produce vaccines. When you do this, you're setting the roadmap for you to stop depending on handouts. Countries are going to make you promises, and if they find a need to take care of their own countries, your promises, the promises they made you, are going to wait. So I think that getting this sort of initiative where we can develop capacity locally is the way to go, and not just depending on handouts on vaccines.
Okay, but the big challenge here is not just transfer of technology, but it's what is called TRIPS, which had been considered by the World Trade Organization. The trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, TRIPS, which was pushed by South Africa and India, and which is also an issue with regard to the fill and finish project by Johnson & Johnson in South Africa, and also the re-engineering of Moderna mRNA technology by Afrigen Biologics, also in South Africa, and which is also the reason why CSOs, civil society organizations, have been saying that Moderna should not, and BioNTech should not insist on patent applications. Now, do you think we'll ever get to a point whereby the WHO and the WTO will succeed in pursuing the objective of equity, in ensuring that these big farmers take a look at this intellectual property rights transfer so that there will be no encumbrances? Or is it about profit, as Moderna and BioNTech were criticized, that they should place people before profits?
No, so the truth is, and this is being fair, pharmaceutical companies spend billions of dollars in research and development. The truth is, and let's not kid ourselves, these companies are going to make a lot of money from these vaccines. I am not sure that these companies are going to let go of their intellectual property and give you their technology for you to, produce and develop your own vaccine. It might not be possible. And I think that's what WHO is trying to address. China didn't need to wait for Moderna and Pfizer. China is producing their own COVID vaccine. Russia didn't have to wait. Yeah, so Russia didn't have to wait. So I think what we need to begin to do now is, and I think that's what WHO is doing by getting these 6 countries, starting what is starting in South Africa, if they will not give us the technology, I believe we'll have intellectuals, professors that has the ability, if we get really down to it, to develop our own technology, maybe with help from WHO and some other people that might be willing. But to say that Pfizer and Moderna are going to hand over their intellectual properties to you, it might not work. So, but we need to begin to work on developing these things locally. And I cite another example. Right now, my company has spent a lot of money to build a herbal line. The reason why we spent that money and by the way, my company is WHO pre-qualified, which is the place to start. So already...
Don't worry, go ahead with advertisements for myself.
Okay.
Norma Miller calls it advertisements for myself.
All right, okay, but the truth really is, before, and I think this is a point for companies, you must present yourself in a way that you have the ability to take advantage of these opportunities should they come true. So, and that's by getting your systems qualified and all of that, investing in capacity. But I was saying something. We'll build that herbal line because the Nigeria Institute for Pharmaceutical Research was able, as part of their research projects, come up with a medication that is very useful in managing sickle cell. And they did the clinical trials. And many people have verified that this is effective. So when we found that it's effective, we partnered with them to commercialize it. And that was why we invested in building that line. So what I'm saying is, the governments of Africa, if you're getting help, get help to develop your own capacity to be able to... Who says that Nigeria, if we really focus on it, cannot develop a COVID vaccine? It may not be the same that Pfizer has. It may not be the same that AstraZeneca. What are our universities for? AstraZeneca collaborated with Oxford University. So what if May & Baker collaborates with NIPRIT, collaborates with University of Lagos? We have professors. Many of our professors are more educated than some of the people who bring us intellectuals and expatriates into this country. So I really say that the way to go is, yes, they can donate vaccines to us, but we should start thinking of how do we build capacity to be able to do research and be able to come up with our own vaccines. We could start somewhere, maybe with fill and finish, like we're planning to do in bio-vaccines, but we should really be thinking more of research and development. And if WHO can commit to helping us get the expertise that is needed, it may not be getting from Moderna, but we can develop our own as Africa. The same way China, the same way Russia developed their own, who said it's not going to happen.
Anyway, see, I get your point. We have the human resource. Okay, you keep referring to these professors that we have. But apart from the May and Baker initiative with bio-vaccines, you know, there's also the biotech MEC initiative to build a vaccine manufacturing facility in Nigeria. Yes, capacity is one thing, but what are the challenges? You see, May and Baker has been doing this since 2015, right? Yeah. So what are the challenges, the specific challenges that you face, either in terms of the regulatory environment or the political will to see it through in terms of your partnership with the government of Nigeria?
Okay, I mean, I think you've mentioned something that is very important. And I really think that's where to start, the political will. The political will is very important. When a government commits to getting something done, they can get it done. In terms of regulatory, I think we have a fantastic person in NAFDAC right now. In fact, much of the information that we all heard about this WHO, the DG NAFDAC did a lot of work to make that come true. I mean, we cannot say all of that here. We know what was going on. You know, the DG NAFDAC worked very hard to make sure that Nigeria is part of this, to make sure that this initiative comes through. And part of that work they did was for NAFDAC presenting themselves in a place where they can validate. So NAFDAC is at the last stages of being pre-qualified by WHO to be able to validate what you call the level A, the level 3. So NAFDAC has already gone ahead. So I think in terms of regulatory, NAFDAC is doing quite well. What you said is probably the what I will tell our government. When there is a political will, because that's really what drives it. When you have a political will, then you will know the place to look for help and the kind of help to need. And when you get that help, you will also commit to making it happen. You see, People cannot love you more than yourself. I continue to say this. You must make a decision that this is going to happen. And to be honest, South Africa has done that. You know, even some of the things that has happened so far, the biotech one and all of that, you know, even this initiative, the hub is going to be South Africa, you know, for the expertise and all of that. Nigeria must begin to pull her weight in Africa because Africa cannot succeed without Nigeria.
Okay, which leads me to my next point. You know, on the morning show, which is the other program that I sit on here on Arise TV, I always complain that, look, every time we will hear that Senegal has an Institute Pasteur, Algeria is collaborating, Morocco, Tunisia, Rwanda, South Africa, you know, getting ahead in the manufacturing of vaccines game. And I always ask, why not Nigeria? Why is Nigeria not on the list? So I was excited when on Friday Nigeria was mentioned. So how come Nigeria is so late to the party? What happened?
Okay, and I go back to what you said, political will. And at this point, frankly, I like to say that we need to get to a point where a change of administration doesn't have to change the trajectory of the country. I did tell you, BioVaccines was formed in 2005. Mayor Baker has 51% share. Federal government of Nigeria has 49% share. But with changes in administration, one thing led to another, and all of that was abandoned. But like I said, thankfully, in 2017, everything was reactivated, and BioVaccine is working. And I like to say, it's a dint of hope. Hopefully this year, BioVaccine is going to do the groundbreaking of the vaccine manufacturing facility in Nigeria. Where the BioVaccine office is right now is where Nigeria used to produce yellow fever vaccine. Nigeria used to produce yellow fever vaccine. Some of the equipment are still there in that office. So the good thing is we might be coming late, but what is important is the will to make it happen. And I think this government wants to make it happen. And like I said, hopefully this year, we're going to do the groundbreaking. And we're going to start that initiative of being able to produce vaccines in Nigeria. No matter how late we are, what I'm telling everybody, what I'm telling the government, I'm telling other professionals, let's start. And if the government supports these initiatives, and I think they already support it from what we can see, I believe it's going to happen. And like Nigeria, when we start, we're going to run fast and overtake.
Okay, let's talk about vaccine inequity, which Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the WHO, talks about all the time, and the commitment of the COVAX Alliance, the WHO, to bridge that gap. Less than 10% of Africa's population in all the 54 countries has received only one dose. But in Europe, 64% on the average of the 27 countries in the European Union have received double vaccination. And in some countries, you know, the rate is even as high as 86%. Yep. You know, full vaccination in those countries. So do you think setting up manufacturing hubs in Africa will help to bridge that gap, and how quickly? And should WHO also be looking at other low and middle income countries in other parts of the world?
Okay, I think that's a very good point. First of all, and I must say this, the COVID situation is a very expensive situation. So countries that do not have their own vaccine are going to depend on other countries. And other countries are going to take care of themselves first before you. That's if you have money to pay. If you do not have money to pay, you're depending on handouts. If you're depending on handouts, they will not give you handouts when their people are not fully vaccinated. And probably what you'll find is the handout they will give you is probably the one that is almost expiring. And I don't want to get into all of that. So the inequity, I must say, is not going to end tomorrow. But let's make do with whatever we have available. But that's one part. The other part is the misinformation around vaccination. Because right now, I'm sure many Nigerians do not know that most of our facilities have vaccines. People can actually go now and take vaccine. But many people still do not believe in this vaccine. They still believe in some of the things going on in social media. Today, somebody still asked me today, please, I know you're a medical person. Is it really good to take this vaccine? Because what I've heard about it, I'm afraid. And my company is saying, if I do not take this vaccine, I cannot. So, and I told him, I said, listen, forget about, I'm not saying that people may not have side effects, but almost every drug will have side effects and all of that. And I said, me, I've taken the vaccine. My wife has taken the vaccine. My daughter just took the vaccine. So the truth is, this vaccine, for everything that have been said about it, is not as bad as they have said. At least you can see me. So the misinformation needs to be addressed. So our national orientation or the health community need to address our people to even take the vaccine. But again, the government must find a path towards either taking responsibility for your own people and not waiting on handouts, because if we continue to wait on handouts, the inequities are going to continue, which is why I think whatever WHO has started is a step in the right direction. It may not solve our problem all today, but you see, we're just talking of COVID. Routine immunization, people are still dying of Lassa fever, dying of yellow fever, dying of other things. We can at least start somewhere. Can we start producing routine immunization so we don't continue to depend on UNICEF and other people?
Yes, I like your point about the need for public education, and I hope the National Orientation Agency of Nigeria still exists, because it looks like an agency that is, in comatose, suffering from some kind of suspended animation. But you have a point there. But it's not only in Nigeria that you have anti-vaxxers, as they are called. Look at what is going on in Canada with the Freedom Convoy protesters who say they don't want the COVID mandate, and copycat protests, in parts of Europe and even in the United Kingdom. So I agree with you. But there's this unresolved matter that, okay, you've talked about bio-vaccine in Nigeria since 2005, reactivated in 2017. But how about this moral issue that is raised about Big Pharma? That you guys are just interested in profit. And the pharmaceutical companies are not necessarily interested in public health. So why is money more important, to big pharmaceutical companies? Where is your commitment? To your shareholders or to addressing the global public health challenge? I'm sure Mehan Baker is also guilty as charged.
Okay. Well, if you class Mehan Baker as Big Pharma, I will accept it. Thank you. Thanks for the compliment. But again, if you really look at it, those countries where the big pharma companies have gotten vaccines. And there's a reason. The American government invested a lot of money in encouraging the development of the vaccine. So technically, you owe them. The monies they have invested was helpful to produce this vaccine. So based on that, American government already blocked certain number of doses. Okay. But again, I also believe that money is not everything. Actually, lives should be put ahead of money, because frankly, Big Pharma, if all the people die, you will not have clients tomorrow. But I also know that this is an opportunity to make quick money, but we should be able to draw a line as to how long this goes. So technically, I will speak not just as Big Pharma, I will speak as somebody that has a heart. Big Pharma should be able to draw a line as to how far it goes with protecting intellectual property while people are dying. So I really think that issues like COVID, that was a global pandemic, should encourage Big Pharma to at least let up in some situations. Yes, people could still pay for the rights. People could pay for the rights. But it will not just be that we must get every dime that we have spent. I mean, what stops you from saying, okay, we want to give this technology to African countries, but for the efforts we made in research and all of that, we will require royalties. Royalties is allowed everywhere. So, but the bad one is blocking the opportunity of getting it. You can get royalties. For instance, if you give intellectual property to my company, We can sign on royalties, so for every money we make, we can agree on percentages. That way, you're not just cutting the whole continent off. So yes, the green farmer needs to recover the money they spent in research and development, but in situations like we have with COVID, we should be able to get into a situation where you can say, India has capacity, China has capacity, Africa has capacity, let's collaborate. You might pay us royalties, or maybe the Nigerian government can agree we're going to pay a certain amount of money, but give us the technology. So that instead of waiting for when all your people are vaccinated, before we vaccinate our people, we can at least make a head start. So yes, I do not believe that we should prioritize money over lives.
Well, I mean, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Ajah. We've been talking about the EU and the AUS Summit on peace, security, and governance, and the focus on vaccine manufacturing. Well, incidentally, the EU countries were the ones that have been most vociferous in trying to protect the intellectual property rights that we're talking about. But it's good to see that they are looking at Africa and how they can provide support. Thank you very much for joining us on This Day Live, this Sunday Talk Show. I've been talking to Mr. Patrick Ajah, Managing Director of May & Baker Nigeria Limited.